Fear is fear. It doesn't speak in riddles. Fear means you're smart. You understand the risks.
Baby, take my hand, you'll be alright.
Trust me, we're the good guys.
Good guys never say that.
Good evening and welcome to Live Long and Podcast. This is the Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 6 episode reaction. This one was named 2 for 1, and it just so happens that we only have two people today.
Yeah,
I'm joined here
we're the 2 for 1
with the producer extraordinaire, Dave Mater.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm well. I'm not controlled by a Borg queen, so I'm doing better than Girardi. And I'm not in a world of my own design or like Picard is, or in the coma at the end of this episode.
Girardi just can't catch a break, man. Like she had to kill her love interest in the last one, and then this season she's the Borg queen, or she's part of the Borg queen, or the Borg queen's part of her. That girl's having a bad time.
Like her 2 adventures with Picard have been,
you'd think at this point she'd be like, okay, I'm done. I'll see you later.
We'll see if she sticks around for season 3. I'm kind of curious here at this rate. And we also got a big announcement, Jody, since last week. Well, because they announced season 3, all of the original next gen cast. Well, at least the core 7, if you will. Riker and Data. I guess Brent Spiner. We don't know if it will be Data, but we know Riker and Brent Spiner.
I don't think it'll be Data. Data's dead.
Could be Lore.
Yeah, well, Laura's supposed to be dead too at this point, isn't he?
Disassembled.
Yeah, disassembled.
He could be reassembled. But like Gates McFadden, Michael Dorn, they're all coming back.
That'd be great to see them again. It'll be nice to give the characters a good send-off instead of Nemesis.
I think that if you're gonna do this, this is probably the last hurrah for this cast next year.
Yeah, at this point, they might do some guest spots in some other future shows, maybe, but that's about it. And they'll probably play somebody else. So. Right. So I think the next season of Picard is probably going to be the last hurrah for them for sure.
If you recall, like Star Trek V, The Final Frontier was kind of like, this is gonna be the last hurrah for the original series crew, and then everyone was like, this movie sucks. Let's do it
again. Yeah.
Let's do it again. And then we got 6.
But
and then
Nemesis I liked. You know how I have a fond for Nemesis, even though
I don't understand it, but
most people don't. But that's fine.
Yeah, I like that you like it, Jody.
It's a guilty pleasure for me. I watched every so often, and I think of you, Dave.
I think of you when it crosses my path.
Anyway, let's remind everybody this is definitely a non-spoiler free episode of this. Yes, we are going to go through the entire episode. So if you haven't watched the episode, definitely do not watch this if you want things ruined. But if you watched it or you don't care, then let's go along the ride. I guess.
Surrender all your dreams to me tonight.
Surrender all your dreams to me tonight.
I got a problem with this episode, Dave. I'm just going to tell you right now.
I like when you messaged this morning. I was watching the episode, and you're like, I don't know if I liked this one so much, and I was just like, I was on that scene with the song when it hit. I was like, I have a feeling I know why.
Yeah, I think you know where I'm going on that one. But and you know what? I didn't know that she has the chops for this, and she's definitely a good singer. But it didn't fit for me. But anyway, that's fine. But anyway, let's get on with this, shall we?
Sure, let's do it.
All right. So we open up with Picard on the floor. Blood coming out of his mouth. He's got an earpiece hanging out, and he's on the floor and appears to be unconscious. We have no idea what's going on. This is a weird way to start this episode. That's one thing that this season I can't say I'm happy with is where they cut the episodes. The episodes seem to be in such silly places that they start in. And
this one was an anomaly because it was less than 40 minutes. This one, it kind of the rest of them have been almost an hour or so.
I'm starting to feel like they've taken one episode idea and kind of stretched it into 2 now. Like they're really pulling hard to get that 2 episodes out of the one storyline or something.
Yeah, well, this episode directed by Jonathan Frakes, as was last week, and then before that it was the 2 Leah Thompson, and before that it was the 2 the Doug guy. And so I'm like, I guess that's that. I'm guessing the next 2 will have the same director as well.
I'm guessing, yeah, it seems to be kind of the trend. But Leah Thompson, I think hers were fantastic. Jonathan Frakes last week's wasn't bad. This week's, some of the shots were just a little weird. I don't know, but I guess he was just trying to be art school Jonathan Frakes. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, and there's different things in this this whole episode that I definitely get the vibe, like First Contact vibes, you know.
Yes, for sure. Let's see if I can actually get this moving. So anyway, we end up seeing some of the crew around him, you know, kind of obviously they're in distress as well. They're just like, what's going on? Oh my God, Picard, you know, Jean-Luc, you know, and they're kind of screaming for him. And then all of a sudden we go to this. Now, when you first saw this,
flashes.
Yeah, when you saw this, Dave.
Yeah.
What did you think this was originally?
Well, I know that they keep doing like these quick flashes to him and his mother as these flashbacks, and it's just more of the same. So I knew what it was, but I don't know where it's going.
Yeah, neither do I. And that's I guess that's one of the mysteries we're gonna have to wait for. But I like the fact that we're getting some history. You know, it's nice to always see more history of Picard, but you know where we're going with it, I don't know. So now this is where the episode already started to draw me for a loop. I'm like,
yeah, like this is done in TV all the time, in movies and different things, where like they're telling us a story like sort of narratively, and we're like, okay, so Picard's almost gonna die, and we're gonna kind of find out how, and it ends up like the payoff is just like, oh well, Adam Soong tried to run him over. That's it.
Yeah, and that was the whole payoff, which we've already spoiled that, but anyway. So then we get non-Laris, which is
what's her name? Talon.
Oh, Talon. There you go, Talon. Yeah. So Talon and Picard are having a nice little conversation about Renee, and she basically is trying to tell him, like, you know, well, you know, we need to be a little worried here. She's still acting the way that would lead me to believe that she's not going to be going on this mission. And just to recap, you know, if people don't realize, they gotta keep her interested in going into space. Because right now she's got a counselor that's basically telling her not to, which is played by Q.
Right.
And that's basically where that's going. Right?
Q basically hired Adam Soong or bribed Adam Soong into becoming like a hitman in this episode. And his mission was to kill her. And then he almost kills Picard instead. Like, I'm thrown for a loop of what Q is up to this season, because if Q has these objectives, then why did he bring Picard and all these people back?
Exactly.
They brought themselves back in time, but they were in, like, they had their original memories from the original timeline, so they could come and do these things. And he's not trying to obstruct them in any significant way. And so I'm confused. But in this scene, with not Laris, Talon, he says, I thought you maybe been an ancestor of Laris, but she's a Romulan and that can't be. And she's like, was this Laris important? He's like, nope. And she's like, well, thanks for telling me how you lie.
Like, all right. What can you do? And I apologize for my squeaky chair. For some strange reason, my chair has developed a squeak. So I got to get that dealt with.
Get that WD-40.
You got to get that WD-40 for sure. So then we see, of course, Rios. Again, we notice that they're coming in. Now they're already in the party at this part, so we've gone so far. We're farther back, but yet we're not, because they show us a scene later where they're getting in, but they're already clearly in at this point, right? So it's kind of confusing.
They're kind of like where we left off last week, which was like Jody was kind of the first infiltrator, so she could get into the control room, and that was happening. But then the rest of this crew comes in, and I watched Steve Shive's review earlier about this episode. And most of these people, like Jody, clearly had an objective. I get why Talon's there and Picard's there, and even Rios and a little bit, but like Raffi and certainly Seven have nothing to do on this mission. Like they are just wearing dresses and partying it up. That's all they're doing.
Yeah,
they have no useful.
They have no purpose at all
in this particular episode. I'm not saying in general, but
yeah. It didn't make sense why all these people needed to be there.
No.
Yeah. So I agree with Steve on that one. So then we get a scene with obviously Jody, and she's in the security room, which we saw at the end of the last episode. But she's starting to talk to herself again, which is a Girardi thing, which obviously is because the Borg Queen's in her head. And then all of a sudden we see the star of the show, in my opinion, the Borg Queen, played by
Annie Wershing.
Annie, no, yeah, it is Annie Wershing. That's right. Yeah. So I always think of the other one that's playing Renee.
She's gonna be in that Enterprise episode we're gonna cover on Monday.
It is, yes, for sure. So, but anyway, yeah. So we have her, and she's sitting with Girardi, and Girardi's like, oh, this is not going well, blah blah blah. You got to give me some time, all that stuff. So.
Yeah, like this whole like Jiminy Cricket or whatever they're going with here with the Borg Queen's in her head. I am kind of digging it, and I like if they're gonna make Girardi like full on villain, this is a kind of an interesting way to kind of get there, I think. Yeah, for sure. Alrighty, so she ends up pulling out this device, which appears to be like some sort of like nebulizer kind of thing, where it's like it shoots a gas or something, and all of a sudden she knocks them both out. Right. So, and then Girardi's very full of herself at this point. She's like, "Hey, that worked. Oh, cool." Yes. Very pleased.
I just drugged 2 people, and then we start seeing the security things, and Rios is trying to get through the security perimeter, and he's scanning as somebody else. And then he's like, I don't know what's going on here, guys. But
they're like, you don't look like this guy.
Yeah, you don't look like a 60-some-odd-year-old, mechanic or whatever he was.
I think they said a surgeon or something like that.
A doctor, yeah, something like that. A doctor or something like that, yeah. So anyway, Rios is kind of like, can you do something here? Girardi, does their little, hacker magic, and all of a sudden there's Rios's ID, and it turns out that the scan that definitely wouldn't have been a bad scan was a bad scan.
Xavier Vicente.
Yes, exactly. So, and Girardi's got the USB key, because even in the future they use USB keys, which is cool. So I don't know where she got that from, but
they're
that's
universal,
cool, I guess. Yeah, I guess they're universal. It just goes to show you they probably still have a problem putting it in. They always put it in 3 times.
This way or that way. That's always what I do.
3 times, yeah. Already, so we have,
and this Girardi. Is where she busts out of the cuffs, right? Because she because she I love the Borg Queen's like, maybe you should have gotten that guy a little closer with the key to the handcuffs before you knocked him out.
Yeah, that's one thing I really like about the Borg Queen is she's a lot more sarcastic in this version of her, and just overall she's playful yet very devious, and I like
cunning. She's very cunning, and she points out when Girardi's like, "You're being a dumb ass," and I'm gonna have to. Yeah. But then it's also it's part of this whole thing. Like, take my hand, I'll
guide you, kind of thing. Yeah,
right. It's kind of like the temptation of the devil, right? Is what they keep coming back to here.
Yeah, it really is a lot like that, actually. So, and then we get another 24 reference or something along the lines, but it's like 26 minutes earlier, and now they're in the gala. And this is where Picard again is talking about Renee, and he's like, how's she doing? And she's like, not good. Like, look at her. She's dropping down the whiskey. Like,
she always drink this much, or does she always drink this hard? Well, she is Picard.
So she's a Picard, so I guess she does drink a lot. But anyway, it is what it is. So anyway, we're at here, and then all of a sudden, we got the band going, and then Girardi shows up with the Queen. And obviously the Queen, nobody else can see her. It's just Girardi that can see her. So, they're not out of place, I guess, so to speak. But Girardi's having a hard time with kind of making the deal with the devil here.
Yeah, she says at one point, like, if you don't shut up, I will find a way to destroy you, or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I didn't try to keep you alive to, do something else or something. So we notice that they are drinking some bourbon here.
But this whole thing where Raffi's tempted by the bourbon, it's kind of this direct. Like, I didn't think she was an alcoholic.
No, I thought she was like a druggie, because
I thought she was into the snake venom or whatever it was.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Anyway, we got.
Like, oh, give me club soda.
Yeah, so Raffi's kind of trying to avoid the thing, and then Rios is like, "Hey, I found a real cigar. All right."
So what's he smoking? What's he smoking in, like, replicated cigars?
Yeah, they're like replicated or something. Yeah, that's my guess. So
okay, anyway. So these ones are actually will give you cancer, Rios.
So yeah, these ones will kill you. But anyway, and he's very fascinated by this. He's also fascinated by the matches that he ends up getting.
Yeah,
he's
like this
look,
is
they
like
come in a little box.
Yeah, he's like, I love this century, except for the whole deportation and the sanctuary districts.
Yeah,
and...
he's very happy about somebody, and I think Steve Shive said that. He's like, he's very happy for a guy who was dealing with ice like 24 hours ago.
Yeah, he was getting the tasers, and he was getting he kept hitting.
Yeah.
He had a rough 2 days, and now he's like, I'm back. It's all good.
Yeah, exactly.
I love this century.
Lovely. So anyway, yeah, so we got that. So he's like, oh, look, fire. Right. So he's very excited. She's like, yeah, no, you probably shouldn't light up everybody. You know, we're done. So.
Yeah, Jane was like, he can't smoke in here. What the hell does he think he's doing? This is California. They got regulations.
Exactly. Oh. You still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hello?
Yeah, I think I'm losing.
Hello? Can you hear me?
We're riding with the shadows after night.
No? Okay, well, Jody might be having some issues there, but I'm here, and I'm Dave, and this is the scene where Rios was showing up the cigar to Raffi. Like, I kind of enjoyed it because, like, I always like these character interactions between the different characters. The more I understand how these characters relate to each other, the better. When you have any kind of different crew. And there's Jody. His internet just went out. Okay, well, he'll be back. Okay, I will keep going here. You guys have questions? Let me know, and we'll try to answer them. And I, that's how it goes here on Live Long Podcast. Okay, I will keep. Oh, hey, keep going. I'm going to switch my connection. Okay, sounds good, Jody. That's what I'm writing in right now. Okay. And then I'm not prepared for this. I wasn't prepared to be abandoned here on the podcast on the internet. What comes next? Let's find out. Give me a moment while I get my bearings here. Yeah, matches. Rios loves the book of matches. Like, this was curious. I gotta tell you, everything about it. He's just showing it off and lighting it on fire. She blows it out and going through. And then 7 of 9, as mentioned, has nothing to do in this mission other than hobnob it up at the party and potentially affect the timeline. But she's having a great time. She loves this new thing. And you gotta remember, like, this 7 of 9, or I guess Annika Hansen, doesn't have any Borg implants and is kind of a different person as a result of that, even though she has all the memories of that life. This new fully human Annika Hansen that she's kind of inherited from this future timeline is completely different, and definitely feels like that. And I'm kind of, where is that going? Is this going to be something permanent they want to change with the 7 of 9 character, or is this something they're exploring for this? I keep wondering. Let's keep going. And then we see this glimpse of Elnor. As we've seen, Raffi is still very much disturbed by the death of Elnor a couple of episodes ago. Though he's still part of the show because he keeps popping up as random people here in a tuxedo. I think a Romulan in a tuxedo would definitely stand out. Moving on, and we see the more drinks that that Rene Picard is absorbing here. She's pounding him back hard, and Picard's like, does she always drink like that? Meanwhile, Talon is kind of intercepting all of the text messages that Renee is getting, where on the other end of that is Q. I want to know did Q create a phone like a snap, or did he actually have to go get one? Because I'm still unclear on what Q's powers are right now. We saw that he couldn't snap and couldn't do certain things, at least, so his powers are at least diminished right now, that we don't know why. And then there was this quick scene where like she's like, well, that's that guy. He's like the head of the mission that she's on. He's like the boss of Rene Picard for the Europa mission. Then we get this whole confrontation here between Rios and well, it's not really a confrontation, but Rios kind of comes over to Jurati because Jurati was kind of in her own world arguing with the Borg Queen in her head, and Rios goes, hey, Picard's calling you. Is your communicator working? Like, what's up? She's like, oh, I was just like confused. He shows genuine concern for her in this scene, and it's definitely coming back to this relationship that mostly took place off screen. If you recall, like these two were kind of like they hooked up at like the very end of season 1. I think somewhat randomly, because like they didn't have a ton of interaction before that. Apparently they kind of got together at that end of that season, and then they broke up because we even saw earlier that Raffi was asking Rios about like this doctor that he met, the one that we'll see later on, Teresa, and you know that's kind of his Edith Keeler, you know, to his Kirk, right? Like he's falling in love with somebody from the past, and it can't go well. Yes. Jane wants to know what happened to Q's powers. I don't know, Jane. Like he's able to get a cell phone. We know that. And we know that he can make the blue little vial to give to Adam Soong, to give to Corey, to help her with her conditions. But we don't know. It's and where is Q going? And is Q truly an adversary, or is this a test? Is this part of like the trial never ends? I am so perplexed about what Q's up to. And we only have like 4 episodes to go after this. I feel like there's a lot they have to do. Jody Simpson reporting his internet has died. It's okay, Jody. I'm sure you'll be back shortly. Okay, so moving on. We see here the Borg Queen kind of intervenes. I did like the earlier interaction where she was like, Borg Queen was like, it was fun lying to your friends.
Oh, but it was fun lying to your friends, especially the one you had intercourse with.
It wasn't fun at all. No, not the intercourse. I hated lying to my friends.
She didn't say that the intercourse wasn't fun, but she did say but she didn't really say it was fun either. So if you didn't know, I'm out on the Jurati Rios relationship. Really random. They can be friends, but he's better with Teresa. Although I have my issues with Teresa in this episode as well. And then like the Borg Queen, like just like pulls in Rios here. It's like she kind of takes over Jurati here and it's like, give me a big kiss. And he's not so into this. He kind of goes, whoa, you pulled me really hard. We know that like the Borg Queen gives Jurati like the superhuman strength where she can break handcuffs and do a lot and apparently sing very well as well. That's the other superpower that comes with being a Borg. The vocal modulator. That was set up in Voyager, if you don't know. But Rios is very like, something's up with Jurati, but I guess they have bigger things on this mind. At least Rios had some things to do on this mission. If anything, Raffi and Seven could have done was like at least kind of figure out what's going on with Jurati, because here should have been an indicator something's up. Something's up with Jurati. More. I don't know how many shots Rene Picard threw back in this episode. It was only 40 minutes or less, but she was pounding hard. Like this, tying into this whole thing of she has anxiety. She doesn't know if she can do this. She doesn't know if she's ready to go to space and be an astronaut because of these demons she's wrestled up from the simulation we saw in the last episode where, she died and didn't go well. Here we get some glimpses of that, that space is, if you go to be an astronaut, you have to have a certain level of courage, I guess, for lack of a better sense. Like it's dangerous and you might fail and you might screw up and it might not go well. I don't know. But this has to happen. And then out of nowhere, Adam Soong, as played by Brent Spiner, one of many of this Soong family who are just these smarmy, like jerk guys. Like this whole family, this whole Soong family is the worst. Data is the only good. He's like the black sheep of the family, right? Like he's like the one that we like. But like Lore, Adam Soong, Alton Soong, Noonien Soong, who else was there? Like the B4 even. Like they're the worst. Like, he's a straight up like villain here. He's like, hello, Picard. And Picard's kind of very, he's seen another Soong face. He's seen, we saw how like mesmerized he was to see that other Inigo Soong that we saw in season 1, one of the other Nenny Soong descendants. But it doesn't quite have that same effect here. He kind of gets over that this is not Data, and he kind of goes, he's like, I'm working for Q, and we have a mutual friend. He's like, Q's not my friend, buddy. You don't know shit. And you need to get away from him and not have anything to do with him at all. He's like, listen, Lal, you're right, Jane. Lal was good. Okay, one exception, but that was Data's daughter, and he was trying to start like a new branch of the Soong family that aren't complete like jerks. Yeah, and I would have liked Lal to have stayed around a lot more. And I guess the other one would be Soji. I guess is I'm kind of hit and miss on Soji, and then Corey, I guess, is introduced in this season. So, yeah, and like I thought that it was interesting seeing this scene. Obviously Patrick Stewart and Brent Spiner have done a lot of acting together over the years, over 30 years plus. Like they kind of know how to do it. I think that this was kind of fun, and we see here that he's here because Q has told him give a big donation to NASA, and they put him like on the board of directors, and he kind of like says to this lady here like, hey, get rid of that Picard, like that bald guy over there, like he's bad news. And right from there, like the security, he's just like this look he gives him. He's such a Bond villain in this episode, I think intentionally. We get more flashes over to Picard on his deathbed. It seems like not doing well, looking a little clammy there. And as we're seeing like these flash forwards where we know that he's like later on in 24 minutes or whatever the countdown is, he's got to be on his back fighting for his life. And more of these flashbacks with young Jean-Luc and his mother Yvette. I'm still confused about where this is going. They've been teasing this since episode 1. We are now up to 6, and we know nothing more about this yet. And I'm guessing that's all going to get unveiled in the next episode, because we get the setup that Talon is going to go inside the mind of Picard and try to pull him out of this coma that medically shouldn't be happening to his synthetic body, I guess. A couple of interesting twists here. We see the Rock that yes, Jane, I think that is right. Is his mother holding a baby? That could be his younger brother. What was his younger brother's name? Maurice Picard. And that could be his younger sibling. But this very traumatic event that happened to his family as a child, and I don't know how old young Jean-Luc is supposed to be here. I would guess about 7 or something around that range. Yeah. We see the Rock, and then after that, we see that like he throws the Rock at the windows, and we know that these windows will all be sort of broken in the future, and this kind of room is not really is kind of in disrepair in Picard's time. Like by the time he is kind of taken back over the vineyard later in his life. I don't know what this was about. Like they throw like this rock into the cubby hole, so maybe he hid something somewhere. And now we're at the 14 minutes earlier, So telling this story sort of almost Quentin Tarantino style, sort of out of order. We get some interesting shots here of maybe this one city skyline of Los Angeles. We know in the Star Trek universe, Citibank exists now in a company called Paul Hastings. I don't know if that's a real company or not, but they exist. More of Adam Soong, in his white tux, giving the stare down. And this is also the moment where we see Renee Picard. She rushes out of the party having what seems to be an anxiety attack. She's not doing well. And Rios, like at least Rios has something to do on the mission. Like he's like, I got her. I'm following her. I'm tracking her down, Picard. Follow me, right? Over here we have Girardi, who's after the whole like forced kiss on Rios, is kind of recovering from all that, kind of trying to get her bearings, dealing with this old Borg queen in her head. and she kind of looks over at the reflection on this Europa mission thing here, and then the Borg Queen comes up beside her in the reflection. She's been like possessed effectively, right? She made a deal with the devil to save that French cop's life. It's going bad for Jurati. And then this whole moment, like, the Borg Queen kind of says, we have to do something because Picard's been made by Adam Soong. Adam Soong's like, you need to come after him. The security guards, who are also dressed in tuxes. The only thing that's different about a security guard in this is that they have a name tag and they have like a little earpiece. And so Picard and Rios, they kind of interchange as guests of the party and as security guards. Anyway, so but Borg Queen's like, we got to do something. We got to help Picard. He's in trouble. We need a distraction. And that brings us to this whole thing with the
we're riding with the shadows after night. Baby, take my hand, you'll be all right. Surrender all your dreams to me tonight. They'll come true in the end.
There she is. Yeah. I really I love this song. I love The Shadows of the Night, the Pat Benatar song. It also was featured heavily in Rock of Ages, which I'm a fan of, that film and that show. I thought Alison Pill, sung really well throughout this, and kind of does like this whole, she's having fun with it, right? Like there's kind of like this mischievous evil, because it's really the Borg Queen. It's not really Jurati through this, really kind of chewing up the scenery. The fact that this whole band is here, and like the one thing that Steve Shives was calling out in his review, he's like, I don't know what happens in TV shows, but apparently if some random person just starts singing, the band is just going to go, yep, I guess I'm going to accompany this and go with it, and try to give them the they happen to know how to play Shadows of the Night off the cuff. Yes, that's right, Jane. So security was distracted by the 1 minute of darkness and then singing. Lame security. Yeah, there was like she turned the lights off. I guess Jurati did that part as well. Or Jurati / Borg Queen did that. And then they're just like, oh no, the lights are out. And that bald man we were chasing a second ago, we're completely off the track. That's not how we do things. If there's a woman singing in a red dress about Shadows of the Night, that's what's coming through. So Jurati's going through. We got some intercuts here where we see Renee is kind of in a different part of the building, where some of these it's almost like a museum display of the different spacesuits from the different eras. And through the song, they've completely abandoned everything with Picard. We see Rios comes over and just gives him the security name tag that he had been wearing earlier in the episode, the P Trotter, and he's like, "You're good. They'll never know it's you now with this name tag." But this whole scene and this whole episode really reminds me a lot of Star Trek First Contact, also directed by Jonathan Frakes, also a movie that features the Borg Queen heavily. And this whole the whole band where when Picard and Lily had to go into the holodeck to kind of kill the Borgs, and there's that band playing and all of those things, that it really came back. I'm like, this is what stuff Frakes loves to do. If you saw the episode Stormy Weather from Discovery earlier this year, it had a ton of music like that Frakes has a certain aesthetic and a certain appreciation for this old stuff, I guess old jazz. I guess that's why Riker plays trombone in Next Generation. I think that's maybe something from Frakes that they brought over into his character. And she's going through, and the one line that I was like, why did they pick this song? Why Shadows of the Night? And then the one line I think that is the most fitting is surrender all your dreams.
Surrender all your dreams to me tonight.
Yeah, I think that's the real key to it. The Borg Queen is always looking for her minions, her drones, to be surrendered to the night. This party is loving it. They give a huge ovation. They're like, who is this woman who sang a random song? And the band just knew to go with it. We don't know. And then she bows. She goes down for the bow, and she comes up with the Borg Queen, arm in arm. And there's this whole thing where Jurati kind of comes to. Jurati wasn't really at the wheel for any of this. She was kind of submerged, and she's like, "No, I thought I was in control." She's like, "Yeah, you were." But then, remember when I held you with the handcuffs? That was kind of like, I think, the beginning of where Jurati's amount of control or agency in her own body is diminishing greatly as this time goes on. We know she's infected with Borg nanoprobes here, and so there is I don't know how much mental power is going to kind of get you over something like that, especially when the Borg Queen herself is at the wheel. And then we see the full takeover where the eyes go black and dark. And she's fully, this is if you want to talk about the show Supernatural, she looks like she's possessed by a demon right now with those dark eyes. And then the whole scene with Renee and Picard, Renee Picard and Jean-Luc Picard, as it takes place here, where she's like, "I really just want to be alone. I don't want to be here at all. I can't do any of this. And get out of here." And he's like, "Well, when I'm got a problem, I like to talk about something that's not related." So he doesn't go along with just leave me alone. He's gonna try to reach her, and luckily she kind of accepts it a bit. He's like, "Can you tell me what that is?" And she's like, "Well, that's OV-165, which I don't know if any of." Okay, I liked this. This was one of my favorite moments of the episode. I think the scene in between these two is my favorite scene in the episode. Because this shuttle, which Renee goes on to talk about, it's got the engines that use less fuel and it can go really fast, and I love it. And it kind of shows Renee loves space and loves NASA and loves everything about it and has a passion for it. But this is the same shuttle we see in the opening credits of Star Trek Enterprise, or just Enterprise as it was known in its first two seasons, OV-165, which I assume stands for orbital vessel, something that they're using potentially to go up and down from the space station or something like that. Again, this is not our universe, so they have different level of space advancement technology and different things, and NASA is up to different things. Obviously, the Europa mission is not something I think that NASA is going to be doing in 2 years from now. It would be lovely and nice if they were going to Mars very soon, but that's not the case. But I thought that this was a really cool, we never knew what OV-165 was. And there's a ship that comes after this in the Enterprise opening credits, which we also never fully understand. But I thought that this was really cool. And he takes out the earpiece. He's like, she's like, "Forgive me if I'm out of line here, but you seem a little bit old to be a security guard." He's like, "I am the wisest security guard you ever met." As it continues here, we get, he talks about his mother and how. I can't remember exactly what he referenced. You remind me of my mother and her strength and different things, and this is why we're getting more glimpses of it. That will, I guess, maybe tie really into when he gets hit later on by the car and going into the coma. And she's crying, but she they do form this genuine connection here. And there's some really important lines here that she's like, fear is this. My fear shows that I don't belong up in space. It's people without fear that should be doing this. He's like, fear is not something nebulous. Okay, it doesn't look like Jody's coming back. He's saying he's got technical issues. Can't get back up. Might be my machine. Okay, I'll try to carry the torch here. And I do really love this line where he talks about fear is just fear.
Fear is fear. It doesn't speak in riddles. Fear means you're smart. You understand the risks.
I understand. Yeah, I agree completely that fear is a necessary emotion, and I think that it is an indication of intelligence and what not to do and what to do, but not to let it control you is definitely the most important thing. And this other line he mentions here.
Sometimes those who shine the brightest feel the sting of fear and melancholy in ways that others can never understand.
And I think that this was a line that definitely resonated with Jody, myself, and Jane earlier when we were watching it together. And the only thing I have reservations about that whole line is like those who shine brightest feel fear and melancholy in greater ways than others. Who are the others? Who are the non-shiners? Is what I wonder. You'd have I need a little that to be unpacked a little bit more. I think it's part of what makes this scene so interesting to me, and I think there's a lot of good stuff here. But I think that notion deserves a bit of challenge. But it's really good. It's really like I think that the two people talking who happen to be distantly related through different centuries and time travel in here. It's just kind of a really nice connection moment. And we're getting more of these glimpses of his mother being dragged away. Where are they taking her? Who's taking her? What is happening? And then we see she takes Picard's arm. 99% of us don't shine. I don't know about that. Or is that because if most of us could relate to that comment, doesn't that mean that we all do? Or we'd like to think we do. And we get these other glimpses here. Adam Soong getting really angry in his car. We don't know what's going on quite yet. But he's getting flashes. He's thinking about Corey. He's thinking about his daughter, what really matters to him. He's been Q has got him right where he wants him, and he will do anything for Q if he'll help him save Corey. Q doesn't really appear in the episode at all. Just in this one little glimpse we see of the earlier flash with Adam, and Adam's like, you know what, I'm going to do it. He kind of works himself up to this, while Picard and Renee are sort of like they're headed back to the party for the photo op with all the astronauts, and apparently this was a shortcut through the parking lot or something like that. But as they're kind of going along, she's like, I feel like I know you. And at that moment, that's when Adam Soong kind of shows up and tries to run them over. He pushes her out of the way. He pushes Renee out of the way. And, and I guess we're led to believe that this was what was going to be the divergence in the timeline, her death here at the hands of Adam Soong, or I guess at the wheel of Adam Soong. And that they kind of prevented it here because Picard kind of puts himself in the harm's way. So is the timeline restored now? Is what I wonder, or not, or is that not what the divergence is? Is there another divergence? Because we see in that future, like in the Confederacy, like we see like there's a hologram of Adam Soong saying like the future is a human future, and so okay, so like let's say this was the divergence, like her getting run over here. Did he then get like he was able to save Corey, but then he became like this leader of some kind of human supremacist movement, some 40 something years before they'll even make first contact with the Vulcans? That didn't quite make sense to me. There's got to be more to it than that. Like Adam Soong has to have more to do with this divergence than just that he may or may not have killed Renee Picard and stopped her from going on this Europa mission. And again, why would Q do any of this? Is it's so curious. But Rios and Talon show up, and we got Renee Picard looking over this, like saying, like, this nice security guard who really helped me calm down. I feel bad about this, but I think this is the last we see of her. And so Rios is like, we can't take him to the hospital because they'll want ID. We don't want him to get deported to France. So we got to take him to see Teresa, who's going to try to help him out. She gets him on the defibrillator, and I thought this was interesting because it happens very quickly, and like I had to watch the episode twice to kind of really follow what was going on here. But I guess because he's a synthetic body, right? Because they make some jokes like, does he have any medical history? Yeah, he's had some transplants. Which ones? All of them. Yeah, because his entire body is a transplant. His entire body is synthetic. And so, yeah, it overloads the defibrillator here and completely takes it offline. Teresa is stunned, which Rios tries to play off that, maybe your kid was playing with the dials. Teresa was having none of that. Don't you blame it on an innocent child who definitely stole your communicator and tried to bribe it out of you. And then we get the shot over here to, I guess this is Malibu. I guess this is where Adam Soong lives. Corey's down in her room doing her Corey thing. Adam Soong shows up. He's got the bow tie unbowed. He got the tuxedo. He comes in. He's not feeling too good about himself after that. He was supposed to be trying to kill Renee, and then he ends up hitting Jean-Luc. And he's kind of really wrestling with this, but he's like, I did it for you. Like, it's got to be for you. And is that got to be worth it? And protect the ones you love. And, the collateral damage of all this, like, is Adam Soong a good man or a bad man, or is he some kind of shade of gray? What can we, I think it's the former. I like I said, this whole Soong family, bad people, not noble at all. Smart and very capable, but not. So we see that Teresa, because she kind of threw everybody out. She threw all the guests out, and she's able to stabilize Picard, but he's not able to actually wake up. Which Teresa comes out and says, I don't really understand. He's in a coma, but we can't fully understand it. We got this whole conversation between her and Rios, which she was very angry with him. Why? Like, he's been like, I think that, I don't know, like her hostility towards Rios in all of these scenes, I'm just like, I don't really understand it, because he's only been trying to be good and nice to her. And like I don't get it. I liked her before this, and like this, what happens in all of these scenes that made me like her a lot less. For whatever reason, I guess I just don't like being cruel to characters that don't deserve it, or creating friction that doesn't seem earned. Anyway, so Corey ends up, like, after this whole encounter with Adam, her dad, she kind of goes down to his lab and wants to kind of figure out what's going on. She's like, I've never Googled you before, Dad. Let's figure out. And we see here, it's not Google. The Google logo's been gone off here, but the first three headlines are like, Dr. Adam Soong banned following an ethics violation. Disgraced scientist banned over the use of eugenics. Mad scientist banned following illegal genetic experiments. And again, the eugenics wars happened like 25 years before this. Like Khan Noonien Soong, he'll escape on the Botany Bay in the 1990s. So this has already taken place. So it would make sense that like Adam Soong would be this incredibly controversial and character, like the Shenzhen Convention, which is presumably is where they banned all this eugenics and genetic experimentation. The fact that he's so insanely wealthy is kind of confusing to me, considering that he would be like the humanity. This would be one thing that maybe humanity had kind of come to terms with even before World War III. How old do we think Corey is? Is she a rapidly aging clone? Well, that's a good question, Jane. Because she's going through all of like the Shenzhen Convention. That's what it is. He's a disgraced scientist, mad scientist. And then we see like these flashbacks here of like him with what initially she thinks, okay, this is Corey as a child, but it's not. Like she's like, why don't I remember this? And I found that this scene was kind of strange in the fact that Corey has to kind of narrate it. Why don't I remember this? What's happening? Let's Google you, Dad. Let's look you up. Why don't I remember that? Well, you won't remember everything from when you were a kid anyway, Corey. But like we see some of these photos worked better for others. This one's okay. This one's pretty good too. I guess they took composites of like Brent Spiner from years ago. With pictures of Isa Briones. This one not so good. I'm giving this one a thumbs down. Like Brent, more for how Brent Spiner looks in this photo. I'm guessing it looks very fake. And then she's watching like more of his logs where he's talking about like this baby Persephone dies at like 3 years old, and then I don't know how she was like. I guess she was just double clicking on random files, because I kind of like took some shots here of these file names, and they don't really mean much that I can make sense of. They're just kind of random codes, and so she's kind of going through them one by one, like Joe, AJ, J. I don't know if there's a code here. If you're seeing something, let me know because I'm not following it. And then finally, we see this kind of final log where Adam Soong's like, well, this is going to be the last one. At least I can take some solace in that, but that's the one I have to save. And then he says Corey. And so Corey kind of knows she's the last of this line of babies or clones or something, or I guess, what Corey is exactly is not clear, or what the predecessors were is not very clear yet, but not a regular run-of-the-mill human. He just had, because he kind of skirted the whole issue of her mother in the previous episode when we met them, and so like there's more to this than that. And then over to Picard on the this is kind of like where we started the episode. Just him on his back, not looking good. Talon has her little Gary 7 pen that she's able to use to kind of look inside of his mind and kind of figure what's going on here. And it's very interesting. Like I couldn't help but think, like, isn't Talon part of this time period? Aren't all of these interactions with Talon affecting the timeline as well? Because Talon is not a time traveler. She's from this time. She just happens to be assigned to protect Rene Picard. Or I don't know, maybe not. But anyway, so like there's this whole conversation of like, what do we do? How do we help him? How do we get him out of this? Because we need to know how to save him. We're getting, you see here, more like inside of his mind. I guess he's trapped inside of like these traumatic memories concerning his mother. And this is all probably gonna be told in the next episode. So hopefully it's good. What's the why is she shushing him? I need to know. Why is she running away? Where is she going? Who's this guy grabbing her? What's his deal? Where is she? Why is she being dragged away? Who's dragging her? I'm confused by this. It better pay off. It better pay off. And then finally, so she's like, well, I guess I can go inside of his mind and try to pull him out of this. And Raffi is very much against this. Raffi is like, oh, what could go wrong? And I was like, and Talon's like, well, you got a better idea? What are we going to do? We need Picard awake because he's the only one who knows about Mr. Godman, meaning Q. But he's not. I direct you to 7 of 9 here on the far left, who had a number of adventures with Q and encounters with Q on Star Trek Voyager. This has been completely like not addressed in this series whatsoever. I give you that most of those encounters with Q on Voyager were very Janeway centric. I'll give you that. But 7 of 9 was there. She knows who Q is. She's had interactions with him. It's all there, right? And so it's very confusing to me that they're like, well, without Picard, we can't finish this mission because he's the only guy who knows about Q. He knows Q better than 7 of 9 for sure. But it's I think that they're like, especially pointing out the fact that 7 of 9 had nothing to do in this episode. She had no reason to be at that party anyway, or to be on that mission, nor really did Raffi for that matter. So just going through, but Raffi, they kind of agree that this is what they're going to have to do. And then the episode ends with Allison Pill is, just kind of fully gone Borg queen. She's gone full dark side here. And then we get like, this very ominous walk away. She's crossing the walk. She's even going to walk, as you'll see, like against the don't walk sign. She's got 13 seconds, but I don't know if she's going to make it across that crosswalk in 13 seconds. She's going to have to pick up that pace a bit. She's carrying her shoes too. I guess she's walking barefoot through Los Angeles. You might want to get a tetanus shot there, Agnes Girardi. Anyway, so that's it. I think that's the end of the episode. Just to, I guess, maybe we can maybe get into some quick ratings here. I'm gonna ask Jody if he has a rating. I'm personally, this was not my favorite episode of the season. I'm gonna go 7 on this one. It was fine, but I didn't love it. And yeah, Jody's going 7 as well. Okay, so this is a 7. And oh man, normally I'm able to multitask better here when I'm not by myself. But if you just bear with me, I am kind of curious to see what the audience is saying, because I always like to get the Internet Movie Database score and to get into it here. I'm just going to have a quick peek quickly here. It's currently sitting at a 6.8, which is about 142 votes so far today. Came out today. So that's not the highest rated so far. As mentioned, directed by Frakes, and was written by Cindy Apple and Jane Maggs. So Cindy had written the last episode. Jane Maggs wrote the teleplay 2 episodes ago. So I think the first time we've seen these two directly team up. That's about it. But we're saying, because Jody and I both voted 7. This will set it a 7. And I think also just to mention that some of the writing was good. I think, like, for instance, like the scene with Renee Picard and Jean-Luc Picard was very strong, very good scene. I think that a lot of the stuff with Raffi in this episode didn't really work for me. I was like, when is she an alcoholic, and since when does she like just naysay everything? And she's just kind of a pain sometimes. And then the whole thing with Rios and Teresa, I thought was just kind of, there was friction and conflict there that was not necessary between those two, where in particular, like this whole thing where he's like, yeah, we're the good guys.
Trust me, we're the good guys.
Good guys never say that.
That's not true, Teresa. Good guys do sometimes say that. So like, I don't like, that's just a couple things with the writing was like, it was very hit and miss for me. Like some of the things were very strong, and some things I'm like, that in particular, I was like, that sucks. Anyway, we're going to close the book here on 2 for 1, where you ended up with just one podcaster. We originally had 4 people on tonight. Davin Skellhorn from Locutors at Trek, my cousin, and yours. He was unable to make it tonight because he's got some stomach issues or some kind of a flu. Adam Woodward dealing with some family issues, and of course Jody's internet went out. But I'm standing here at the end, telling you about 2 for 1. And you should also check out our other podcasts here on Live Long and Podcast. We're always kind of breaking down different episodes of Star Trek. Monday nights we talk about Star Trek Enterprise. That's with Jody Simpson and Kevin Millard and Adam Woodward. And sometimes Davin's on that one too. On Tuesday nights, we talk about Star Trek Deep Space Nine. We've been going through each episode, just like we do with Enterprise. We go through each episode in order, talk about it, analyze it, rate it, much like we did tonight. For this episode of Star Trek Picard, we obviously right now we're in the midst of season 2 of Picard, but we just wrapped up like Discovery season 4, which featured Michael Chan, who's one of the podcasters we work with quite a bit. And speaking of which, coming up this Saturday night, April 9th, we'll be doing a live reading of the episode called Darmok. This is from Star Trek The Next Generation's 5th season, originally aired in 1991. You know, like Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra, we're doing it we're going to be doing like basically a script read with sound effects. This later gets produced and edited down into like a fully realized audio drama. And if it can, like, there's kind of definitely a spontaneity and some improv that gets thrown in here by some of the performers. So it's I would definitely check this out. If you love that episode, if you love what we do here on Live Long and Podcast, check out Darmok this Saturday night, live read with Michael Chan, Discovery's own Michael Chan. Plus our 2 other channels. We got Trivial Debates, a monthly show where we argue about movies, TV, sports. There's a host, there's 3 contestants, they argue. Our next one will be coming up on May 1st. The last one we just did was on March 27th. So there's always kind of different questions and debates in that. And then on Super Mater Brothers Podcasting, which I do with my brother Jeff Mater and co-host Jaemeel Robinson, we're covering like different shows and movies that are not related to Star Trek. So for instance, right now we're in the full coverage of Big Brother Canada 10, which I'll be on later tonight to talk to Jaemeel Robinson about the eviction for week 6. Survivor season 42 is right now. We just did episode 5 last night. Next week we have a double header, a 2-hour episode next week for Survivor. And then we'd love to talk about Marvel as well, Marvel Cinematic Universe. We've been going through everything since WandaVision came out last year. All the new installments, whether they be on Disney Plus or they be cinematic. In the very near future, Moon Knight will be covered. We're 2 episodes into those 6, and then Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness will be our next cinematic review after that. And check out our friends podcast. I mentioned Davin Scalehorn, my cousin and yours. He's got Locutors of Trek, his Star Trek themed channel. Does all kinds of great stuff over there. Debates, and he does trivia, and he does writer's room pitches, and all kinds of fun stuff. Plus, he's got his X-Men, the animated series podcast, which he does with his friend Andre. They go through each episode of X-Men, the animated series from the early 90s, talking and rating those episodes. And also check out my son's podcast, Eamon Mater, under his alias Sanjurka. Let's talk about fighting games. They talk about Mega Man. They talk about Capcom and Biken and all those things. And then the Hellbound podcast with Michael Chan and Alex Blackburn, a horror podcast they do every Wednesday. Something different horror, something about the horror genre that they love and love to break down. Anyway, so that's going to close the book for a 2-for-1. I got to run and watch an episode of Big Brother Canada. And we'll be back in a week to talk about episode 7 of Star Trek Picard, hopefully with more people than just me. But thank you, Jody, for the time you were able to be with us. And we will see you next time. And until then, surrender all your dreams tonight.
Surrender all your